Hi, Blue Falcon. I'm gonna wait for more people to come before I start reading this book. Number one streamers. I'm glad that you think that. I'm going to wait a little bit before we start reading this book. This is it. Hi, Goosey Pie. Hi, Magi Pie. Hello. If you guys can't tell, I tried to do another different makeup look. I'm just trying so many different looks. So hope you guys like this one too. I'm kind of cold. I'm actually wearing a dress. I can show you guys. So like it's sort of cold. So we're gonna go get a blanket. Here is a blanket. Hi Cam, nice dress, thank you. It was Sarah's, and I don't think she liked how it fit on her anymore, so she just gave it to me. Very professional looking. Like I'm gonna go to an interview kind of professional, or what? It's a very lovely dress. Thanks. It's not too comfy. It's like the fabric is like not stretchy, so by that regard, it's not the comfiest. Looks good. Thanks, Junetober. Hello. Makeup looks like it's done really well. Thank you. I've been improving a lot, I think. I'm trying so many different makeup looks. So yesterday they're all from the same creator. Her name is Pony Makeup. Maybe I'll like upload all these different selfies on Instagram and be like all different pony makeup tutorials. Because yeah, I just followed her makeup tutorial, and I will show you who this girl is. She's like really popular, and she's quite popular even in America. I was really surprised when I went to a photo shoot, and one of the models, like she's like really blonde, like icy blonde kind of like American girl, and she knew who Pony was too. I was like really surprised. So Pony is, yeah, she makes really good makeup videos. So this is my second one of her. Yesterday I did one too, glittery one. Now today is not glittery. I didn't even use highlight. Like she didn't use highlight in her video, and I was like, okay, I will follow. Tunky Hut, hello, welcome. The dress just makes it look like you're going to a nice day / night out. Oh, well, this is my night out, I guess. A night in, I mean. The one where she makes herself look like Taylor Swift, yeah. Her makeup skills are amazing, so finally picking up some pointers. Hello Yoshi, how are you? Okay, so this is the book that we're going to read. Doing good. Okay, that's good. Why do I sound sad? I'm preserving my voice because I'm going to be reading this whole book. Or we'll try at least half. And then I'll do the other half tomorrow or something. Cause so Jess in my sent it to me along with a really nice note, so I'm just using this as a bookmark now. So yeah, we're going to wait a little bit for everyone to arrive. I didn't make an announcement. Maybe I should do that. So we're gonna wait a little bit so people wouldn't be lost when they come in, and they will be like, wow, we're on chapter 2? I don't know what's going on. What happened to chapter 1? So yeah. We're gonna wait. You read a little bit of the book and you absolutely love it so far. You can't wait for me to hear it in your voice. How did you read it, Goosey Pie? Did you get it? Yeah, how did you read it? You liked earrings today? Thank you. Hot Cheetos right now, and the hot powder went down the wrong pipe. Oh no. Download on your Kindle. Oh, I see. Thanks. So these earrings, I just got them today. They arrived in the mail. I bought them on 11/11. So if you guys don't know, in China, 11/11 is called Singles Day because it's just 1 and 1. So Singles Day is where there's just a lot of sales. So like yeah, in 11/11 in China, I guess they feel bad for the single people or something, so they have really big sales. And anyway, I bought this earring then back in early November, and it just arrived now, but on a Chinese website, and it was only like $1. So yes, I celebrated Singles Day well. You never knew 11/11 was treated like a holiday? Yeah, it's treated as a day to celebrate your sadness or something, and so for that they make everything on sale. So yeah. Singles Day. And this necklace also I bought on Singles Day. So this necklace, I don't know if you can see, it's the Aquarius sign. Hey, Lucky Chan Jr. Guys, okay, Lucky Chan Jr. is the lovely little girl who sent this book, which I will be reading when we see a little bit more people come in, so then they won't be lost if they come in into the middle of the story. Yeah, I also got this at Singles Day, and I believe it was also like $1 or something. So yes, Singles Day. When did you start reading this book too, Gustavo? Did you get it because you saw that I got it, or did you get it before then? I'm using your note, your letter you sent me, Jessie Pie, as the bookmark. Because I think it's a really nice bookmark. Like, the contents inside, it's like, wow, happiness inside, bookmark. It's good. So like, multi-purpose use, everything use. You're about to go Sonic Yoshi because you've had 2 energy drinks and about to get some coffee later. Oh, okay. Enjoy your Sonic run. You saw I posted a picture of it, and then you thought you'd try to find it online. Oh, that's cool. That means you can read along with me, right, Goosey Pie? So Gustavo, you can read along with me. So you can start at the same time as me, and then you can follow along. So I think that's cool. I love reading together with people. It's fun. Okay, let's see. Dorp, I hope I'm having an amazing day. Thank you. I hope you're also having a good day. I hope you're going to enjoy your Sonic run. I think it's 3. So it's no, I'm early. 1, 2, 3. It's 2:41. So I guess it makes sense that you're gonna go get Sonic right now for coffee. I was like, this is a little late for coffee. Okay. How long has it been? It's been 12 minutes. Do you think that's enough waiting time? Is that enough waiting time? Should we go start? Make sure to check on everyone to see how they're doing. That's good. Okay, I don't know if you guys can read this. It says Dora reading will pause after each chapter to catch up on chat. 10 minutes followers only. Why does that say? Oh, chat. I was like, that? I was like, why does it say that? Okay, 10 minutes followers. Chat. TY for listen, happy face. If you guys can't read that, that's what this notification says. This notification. Yes, we appreciate you. We appreciate everybody. Everyone is so worthy of appreciation. I think, okay, at 15 minutes I will start reading, and if people are coming in late still, we will have to tell them that they have to watch the VOD to catch up on the chapters that they missed. I think 15 minutes will be good enough to wait. You're drinking pink drink from Starbucks right now? I missed if you said you started reading yet. Yeah, he said he started reading a little bit of it. It has Dora written all over it. Yeah, I remember in college the pink drink was really popular, but personally I didn't really order it. My friends did and we would share drinks, but personally I never got the pink drink because I like more chocolatey drink flavors. You have to leave earlier than expected. Oh no, why do you have to leave? Too much sugar and money? Yeah. Oh no, Goosey Pie, we were supposed to be reading together. That's really sad. You like the background setup? I think my background setup has been the same for many streams. Hi Jay, hi me. Okay, water time, that's good. Tiny's good too. Okay, I think 60 minutes. It's past 15 minutes, so I guess we shall start. That's sad though that Goosey Pie has to leave because he has the book. He would just be following along with the words. So, well, when he comes back, you'll see. Do I need sugar? I need sodium. Okay. This book is called She Had a Very Inconvenient Heart. A Tale of Love and Magic by John Mark Green. Falco Pie, yay! Alright guys, so remember, Doro's reading. I will respond after each chapter to catch up on chat. People can only chat in my chat if they've been following for 10 minutes. I've had this for a few days now, actually. And thank you for listening. Happy face. Remember guys, so not going to try, I will try to not ignore you guys, but that's why I will take some time to respond to you guys in between the chapters. Hi Lucian. Alrighty guys, so starting. For all who are old enough to enjoy fairy tales again. Yay, go Falco Pie. Ready to listen. Good job. A note from the author. Most of you know me through my poetry. She Had a Very Inconvenient Heart serves as an introduction to my storytelling. I have also included 2 bonus stories that are exclusive to this collection. Through these and future stories to come, I hope that you enjoy visiting the worlds of my imagination. And if you do, please invite your friends to visit too. Gonna move closer to the mic. She had a very inconvenient heart. Chapter 1. It has a really pretty picture. She had a very inconvenient heart. It always insisted on feeling things ever so deeply. Once upon a time, there lived a woman afflicted by a heart which felt things far too deeply. It brought her great joy, but also much suffering, for it bore both her own pain and the sorrows of those around her. She may have lived in some far-off time, or perhaps not long ago at all. I cannot say for sure. Time is a slippery thing, and some tales occupy a place beyond time. We shall call her Cardia, although she may have been known by some other name. It matters not, for the truth of a story is found in its soul, not in the details. I must warn you, dear reader, that in this story, both wonderful and terrible events transpire. It is also the sort of tale in which magical things happen. If you are a person who has no room for magic in your life, you should stop reading immediately. Cardia lived alone in a small cottage in the woods outside her village. She gathered fruit and berries from the surrounding woods and tended a small garden of vegetables and herbs. She was content to live simply, finding pleasure in nature and the musings of her mind, and in which making healing potions from secret things which grew in the forest. Throughout each day, her emotions were ever changing. One moment she might be soaring high among the clouds of inexpressible joy, and the next plunged into the murky depths of despair. She felt everything profoundly, to the very core of her being, and when she encountered others, she would take on their emotions in the same way clouds are painted by the rising or setting sun. She felt the secrets they hid inside, and these things became a part of her. Cardia loved the bright and cheerful colors, but it seemed to her that life was far too often painted in indigo, granite gray, and the impenetrable black of midnight despair. These darker hues weighed heavily on her. Being out in the hustle and bustle of crowded streets and market stalls was overwhelming. Her heart responded to the wells of pain in each person. She sensed it through their words, eyes, and the posture of their bodies. Sadness was like a scent which hovered around them, one only she could discern. Cardia believed that she had a healthy duty because of her ability. She tried to lessen their suffering by drawing out the pain, as a doctor might suck the venom from a snake bite. Her compassion, though well-intentioned, took its toll, her kindly efforts only increasing her own pain. It is often the case that tender-hearted people have great difficulty in finding the balance between caring for themselves and for others. After being out amongst the villagers, she would arrive back at her cottage, drained and weak, crawling beneath the blankets and sleeping for hours to regather her strength. Later, she would wander through the forest, communing with the trees and wild creatures, seeking to restore her soul and banish the dark heaviness. And so, even though she was loving by nature, as time passed, she craved solitude more and more due to the tortures of her sensitive heart. Because she was an outsider and did not join in with their gossip and idle chatter, the villagers regarded her with mild suspicion. But they could not deny feeling warmed within whenever they encountered her gentle kindness. You may wonder why Cardia lived alone. Abandoned as a child, she had been left on the doorstep of a kindly miller who had raised her as best as she could. He promised that she would one day inherit his business, but shortly after his death, unscrupulous men had seized the mill and cruelly turned her out into the streets. With no family and no home, she was forced to dwell in the woods, taking shelter in an abandoned, tumble-down cottage, which she repaired and made livable. Due to her solitary nature and strange ways, she had long ago grown tired of hoping for someone who truly understood her. To find a person whose arms held her safely and whose heart cherished her deeply, that seemed a dream beyond reach. The pain she bore was so profound that she despaired of ever finding love, concluding it was better to pass her days in the relative safety of solitude than to throw herself to the wolves of chance. Such is the case of many a wounded heart. Perhaps even you, dear reader, know that of which I speak. Despite her resolute commitment to the protections of a secluded life, sorrow's noose still tightened itself around her. The pain hidden behind the eyes of those she encountered whenever she ventured out followed her home, taking up residence within her. As the years passed, her loneliness grew. Cardia's heart had love in abundance and ached for someone to give it to. She longed to share sunrises, laughter, hopes, and dreams. Sadly, there was no one she could imagine entrusting herself to. Deep sadness gnawed at her, as relentlessly as a village dog chewing on a bone. Sorrow devoured every scrap of happiness from her life. Something had to be done. The weight of her sensitive heart had now become an intolerable burden that threatened to crush her. Now it just so happened that there was a large raven who often perched on her window ledge and talked to her. This is the sort of story in which people take such unusual happenings in stride, so she did not find it odd that the bird could speak. Cardia found a companionable comfort in the coal-black bird's visits, even though it was cocky and sometimes rude in speech. She did not sense emotions from that feathered creature the way she did with people, so spending time with it did not burden her. She resolved to tell the raven her problem and see what it had to say, for the bird flew far and wide and appeared to have a thorough knowledge of the village and of human affairs. Okay. Hi, Domopad! Gussypad, you're back! Yay! That means you get to follow along with the story again. With us. Yay! I'm happy that you get to follow along with the story. I think I want to send this to Ninja. I think Ninja maybe will like it. Maybe. Dun 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 dun. room for meanies here. Yes, no room for meanies. If the raven wants to come here, he has to be nice. Okay. I must point out that, as a rule, it is not a good idea to seek the advice of ravens regarding matters of the heart. They are opportunistic and calculating creatures, and what they advise may benefit themselves rather than the asker. But Cardia did not know this, and one particularly lonely day, she poured out her sadness, asking the raven what it thought she should do. "Ark," the bird exclaimed, "your damnable heart is the cause of your woes. You must be rid of it as soon as possible. Remove it, and your pain will go too." "And how shall I remove it, my feathered friend? I do not think such a thing possible." "I know just the man who can make it so," the raven answered. "Only first give me your shiny silver necklace, for I crave such a bauble for my collection of treasures." "No," cried Cardia. "That necklace is the one thing I have left from the dear man who raised me, and I simply cannot part with it." "Then I guess you shall not part with your cursed heart either," said the bird, cocking its head to one side and fixing her with its beady eye. "Instead, you will die of sadness. I'll miss our conversations when you're gone." Despite his words, he did not look upset at this prospect. After a considerable inner struggle, Cardia relented and set the necklace on the window ledge. The raven clutched it with a scrawny clawed foot, a greedy gleam in its eyes. "Ak, you must go see Dr. Phineas, who lives on the Rustbourne Lane. For a price, he will remove unwanted things from your life. He practices surgery mixed with magic, although he does so without the approval of the proper authorities." With a sudden flourish of his wings, the raven flew off to hide its new treasure. "Oh, you wanted Cardia to keep her necklace?" Cardia did not hasten to seek the doctor who might rid her of her troublesome heart. This was wise, for surgery is no small matter, and when it comes to the heart, impulsive decisions may be regretted later. But the bartering bird had planted the hope of freedom in her mind, and she could not stop thinking of it. She tried to imagine what it would be like to feel nothing. Though she failed, she knew it would be a blessed relief to no longer be a slave to the wretched organ which had so often filled her with aching longings and pain. Still, part of her doubted whether such an operation was even possible, for how might a person live without a heart? Even though the raven was a shrewd bargainer, she had never found it to be incorrect in anything it had told her, and it had said that the doctor used magic in its practice. That must be the explanation. Having turned it over many times in her mind, Cardia finally summoned her resolve and decided to meet the doctor to see what he had to say. She ventured into the village and wound her way through a maze of back streets, asking directions from time to time. After much walking, she found herself in what seemed to be a very disreputable neighborhood. Gaunt-ribbed, mangy dogs followed her at a distance, as if sizing her up as a meal. Unshaven, greasy-haired men lurked in doorways, their eyes betraying an animal hunger of a different sort. She kept to the middle of the street to avoid being pulled into an alleyway, and quickened her pace, watching for a signpost for Rustbourne Lane. Finally, she arrived at a wretched hovel of a house, with a faded sign reading, "M. Phineas, Surgeon," hanging from a rickety wooden gate. She made her way along the path amidst a weedy yard and knocked on the door. After a time, when no one answered, she banged more forcefully. A small window panel in the door slid open, revealing a jaundiced, red-veined eye which wobbled around, examining her, while an annoyed, wheezy voice said, "Good Lord, woman, no need to beat the blasted door down." In an apologetic tone, Cardia explained her reason for coming and inquired if he could remove her troublesome heart. There was the sound of a bolt being drawn, and the door banged open. A short, corpulent man, whose swollen body looked as though it might burst out of his clothes at any moment, darted his head out the doorway. After a quick glance to the left and right, he said, "Well, don't just stand there all bloody day. Come in, come in." Cardia wondered whether she should entrust her care to an ill-mannered person of such appearance. Her sensitive heart recoiled from the rotting, greasy stench of his soul. She hesitated a moment and then entered. Such was her desperation. Phineas motioned for her to sit in his dingy parlor, which served as a waiting room for his patients. A layer of sooty dust covered everything in the room. Puffs of it swirled upwards from the chair when she sat. "Why in blazes do ye want your heart out? And why would ye think I could do such an operation?" he asked, hands on his hips, and an annoyed look on his face. Stammering, she explained the torment her heart had caused her, and what the raven had said. "Ah, that bloody fiend of a raven. It loves to gossip. Many a time I've caught it spying on me. Curse whoever gave that bird the power of speech." "So it's not true?" Cardia asked, despair in her voice. "Oh, the bird told you true enough. I just hate the black-feathered busybody is all. Let me show you how an operation is possible." So saying, he departed the parlor. The doctor soon returned, bearing an odd knife. Its handle was silver, engraved with strange symbols and lettering. Runes and incantations, she supposed. The blade was gleaming obsidian and looked to have been fashioned in ancient times. Its edges seemed sharper than anything she had ever seen before, and inside the black glass of the blade, flickers of tiny lightning flashed. There was no doubt this knife possessed by a powerful magic. She sensed that he was not deceiving her. Phineas saw the look in her eye and puffed out his chest, holding the knife with reverence. You'll not see a blade like this the rest of your days. Cost me near everything I own to possess it, even my life, almost. This blade that allows me to practice my healing arts. And your magical knife can remove my heart without also ending my life? How is this possible?" "A woman cannot understand such things," said the doctor, though truth be told, even he did not understand the power which the knife possessed. "All ye must understand is that the surgery will be painful, and will cost a pretty penny." "How much?" Cardia asked. "How much? What? Pain or money?" "Money," she said. "Money," she said, "for surely the pain of such an operation would not be greater than the pain her heart already caused her." Phineas named an amount which made her spirits sink. "But, sir, how am I supposed to come by that larger sum? I am a woman of simple means." "And I am not a charity," retorted the doctor. "Find a way to obtain the price that I ask, or learn to live with your damned heart. Good day." With that said, he showed her to the door, and she was more than glad to leave, feeling rather ill from his unpleasant presence. She went home, fully exhausted, and did not feel recovered until late next day. Hi, Rinzin-san. Oh yes, let's get our timely. Disclaimer. Oh, have to wait 3 hours. 3 hours. Water break. How are you, Rinzen-san? Okay, back. And so, Cardia sold everything of any value which she could spare, adding the coins received to the hidden store of money she had earned over the years from selling healing herbal cures made from rare plants she found in her forest wandering. Seasons passed, and her savings slowly grew. Still, she did not have nearly enough to pay for the removal of her troublesome heart. As fate would have it, the means to obtain additional money came her way not long after. Word had gone around that a stranger had arrived with odd requests, offering payment to any person who would supply what he sought. His desires were not criminal or sordid, but of a more puzzling nature. After some deliberation, Cardia decided to meet this seeker of oddities. She found him in a small clearing in the woods at the edge of the village. She had been told to look for a little house on wheels, gaudily painted. And lo, there it was, with a glossy chestnut horse grazing peacefully nearby. The door to the traveling house was shut, but a thin trail of smoke rose from a stovetop in the roof. She went up, and after taking a deep breath, knocked. The door was the color of red wine, bounded by gilt trimming. It swung open straight away, and she stepped back in surprise at the suddenness. A man stood before her, clad in a black robe belted around his middle. The kind of garment a priest or wizard might wear, Cardia thought to herself. The man's face was sharp-angled and craggy, with deep-set eyes that were the palest shade of blue she had ever seen. His thick mane of hair put her own to shame. He didn't say a word, but leaned his face uncomfortably near hers, closed his eyes, and inhaled slowly several times. With his eyes still shut, he began to murmur to himself. She smelled wine and onion on his breath. Ah, the dream fruit is heavy on the vine, languishing to the point of spoilage. Such a sweet, sweet scent. 'Tis harvest time, my dear, and I must relieve you of your burdens. His voice had a hypnotic, soothing quality to it. The man's eyes popped back open, and he transfixed her with his intense stare. She noticed that his eyebrows were unruly little hedges in need of trimming. Has my fame preceded me? If you sought me out, then you must have heard of my peculiar interests. I have heard naught but rumors, sir, Cardia said, in a quavering voice, for his manner unnerved her. So I came to inquire as to the truth of the matter. The man stepped back, eyes still fixed on her, and she was able to breathe easier again. She sensed very little about him, almost as if much of his essence was hidden. From what she could discern, though, she felt him to be trustworthy, holding no ill intent. You may call me the collector, for I travel far and wide, seeking things hidden deep in the human heart, the sweetest of dreams and the purest aching longings. I have a great interest in such delectables and will pay to add them to my collection. If they are deeply hidden in my heart, how then will you remove them? My dear, I have a gift. I can sense and smell them, as a hound scents game, and reach them with the hands of my mind. It's impossible to understand such a mystical ability unless one has it, so do not trouble yourself. Rest assured I am able to remove what I seek, else I'd be paying for nothing. And what will you do with these things you collect? Questions, questions, he said. Of what matter is it to you? Perhaps I use them as a seasoning to flavor rabbit stew, or braid them into a blanket of dreams to keep me warm during cold winter nights. All you should be concerned with is what I offer as payment. And how much would that be, sir? How great is your need? The more the collector takes, the more he pays, and you, my dear, have much for the taking. Cardia did not have to consider for long, since her heart would soon be removed. What did it matter if the strange man took much of its contents now? She named an amount, and he considered, a shrewd look in his eyes, and then leaned close to her again to inhale, as if he were a wealthy lord sniffing a goblet of freshly poured wine. Agreed, he said, but I warn you, I will harvest many of your unborn dreams, plucking much fruit from your longing. Once gone, they will never be a part of your future, but I shall be careful to leave a few for you. 'Twould be a crime against the heart if I got too greedy, and whatever might be said of me, I am not a cruel man. I have made mistakes in other times and places, 'tis true, but I have learnt from them. Cardia considered telling him that he couldn't take all that he wanted, but did not feel like explaining the story of her troublesome heart to a stranger. Is the harvesting painful? She wanted to prepare herself, at least. The collector smiled reassuringly. Not at all. When I was first becoming skilled at the art, I did inflict pain, and I regret it. But that was many years ago. I assure you that you'll come to no harm. Well then, I agree that you may collect from my heart, Cardia said, taking a deep breath. Excellent, said the collector, rubbing his hands together. We shall do it now. Please let me make the necessary preparations. Please, come inside my humble abode, and sit in waiting. He offered her his hand and helped her up the wooden steps and in through the open door of his wheeled house. A small window in the roof let in light. Drapes of fabric hung from the walls, painted on which were arcane symbols and maps. Storage cabinets lined the walls, above and below. The smell of incense and cooked meat hung in the air. A small iron cook stove sat atop a square of bricks, and she saw cherry red flickers of flame in its belly. Along one wall was a workbench cluttered with glass beakers, flasks, and other strange contraptions which she did not recognize. To her surprise, Cardia found that the house, which had seemed tiny from the outside, felt much larger from within. The collector motioned her to sit on what must have served as his bed at night. I'll be with you in a jiffy, he said, busying himself. She watched as he opened the cabinet and removed the hexagonal jar stoppered with a large cork. The glass of the jar was clouded with age. She thought she saw through it faint movements of light and color, as if tiny glowing fish swam inside. The collector pulled up a wooden stool and sat on it, facing her. He set the glass between his legs, loosening the cork stopper but not removing it. Well then, he said, shall we? She nodded, and then asked, what must I do? Just sit still and quiet your thoughts, he replied. I shall reach inside you with my mind, and if you move about, it only makes it harder for me to grab a hold of the dream seeds I want. Slippery things they are. Alive and kicking, the more still you are, the quicker I can finish, and then you'll be on your way. Richer, to boot. It won't hurt, but it will feel odd, like the tickle of breadcrumbs stuck in your throat. I dare say. You know the feeling? Now close your eyes, if you'd like. But she did not, watching instead as he leaned close. His pale blue eyes focused intently on her face, then traveled slowly down to her heart. A strange, dreamy gaze overtook him, as if his eyes were no longer seeing the world, but another. She felt something moving inside her chest, stirring deep within her heart. The collector moved his hands. He did not touch her with them, yet he was touching her, reaching around inside. She felt the urge to move, resisted jumping to her feet and running away. Cardia felt stirrings within her chest. There were other things moving besides his invisible hands, darting as if to evade his grasp. A sudden clutching within as he pinched the fingers of his right hands together. The collector moved his fingers in close to her chest, then quickly away. Suddenly, there was a small, iridescent thing caught between his fingertips, gleaming wetly as it wriggled. His left hand lifted the stopper to the old jar, and quick as a wink, he dropped the wriggling thing in and sealed it. Got one, he said, looking at her. Sight had returned to his eyes. The collector repeated this procedure several more times. The dream seeds varied in size, but most were small as minnows. All were colorful and glistening. Each time one appeared between his fingers tips, it amazed her. As he had promised, there was no pain. The clouded glass of his jar now revealed much more glowing movements and color inside. The captured things were swimming in a liquid. It was so lovely that she forgot the strangeness of what was happening. Her heart swelled with wonder. Then she thought of how it would be not to feel, with her heart gone and tears welled in her eyes. "What is the matter?" asked the collector. "Did I cause you pain?" "No," she said. "They're just so beautiful. They make me want to weep." "Aye, they are indeed," he agreed. "And that's the last I'm taking. Let me fetch your coins and you can be on your way." The collector paid her exactly as much as they had agreed and bid her farewell. "Mayhaps we shall meet again, but I doubt it. I took much, but not all. Fare thee well." Bidding him goodbye, she climbed down the wooden steps and hurried home, nervous lest someone might rob her of the heavy pouch of coins. Safely back at her cottage, she hid the rest of her savings. As evening fell, she sat in a chair. Without lighting the lamp, she felt strange. For once, there was no pain, only a subtle lightness within. She fell asleep and dreamed of blue-eyed wizards in jars full of tiny rainbow fish, swimming in endless circles. Thank you, Domopod, for saying I look dazzling. Beautiful. The dream fruit is heavy on the vine. That's one way to greet someone. I like that phrase. It's very lovely. Pet pet. Thank you for the pet pet, Yoshi. That has a name that starts with the... lives in a place that's larger on the outside. You know, this kind of reminds me of that show we watched, guys. Do you remember the show that we watched? The adventure show? The cartoon? Do you guys remember what it was called? Hi, Landa Dan. Nice timely. You guys remember what that cartoon was that we watched? Because it was really good and it kind of reminds me of this. Thank you so much for following Eve Fuzzy. Yeah, it reminds me of that cartoon that we watched that was about like exploring the woods and adventuring and like mystical stuff that had stuff to do with the heart and love and stuff. That's what it reminds me of. If you guys remember the cartoon. Okay, now back. Now that she had acquired enough money, she made her way through the maze of filthy streets towards the doctor's house, the bag of coins hidden safely out of sight beneath her clothing. The sign bearing the doctor's name was even more faded, and the gate creaked like an old man's bones as she swung it open. She stood outside his door, gathered her courage, took a deep breath, and knocked again, louder. Finally, the little window slid open, and the doctor's bulging, reddened eyes greeted her. He stared for a moment, and slammed it shut and opened the door. Well, do ye have the money? Phineas demanded in a surly tone. Yes, said Cardia, but I don't think it wise to show you out here. True, said the doctor. Beggars and thieves aplenty in these parts. Come inside then. Once they were in the parlor, she brought the bags of money out from hiding, handing them to him one by one. Phineas poured coins onto a table and began to sort and count them, mumbling under his breath, his stubby jowls quivering. Then he turned and fixed an eye on her. Thank you so much, Backkirk. Hello, Backkirk. Hello. Hey, what have you missed? Hi, Neonates. We're chapters aren't numbered, so we're sort of in the beginning, actually. Is this the best that you can do? It's everything I have, she replied, and it's the amount you asked for. He deliberated, eyeing the money as he entwined his fingers and fidgeted. Cardia could feel waves of greed and other unpleasantness emanating from the man, almost as a stench. Her heart raced and her stomach tightened into a sick knot. I suppose it will have to suffice then, he sighed. I'll go fetch the paperwork to make it official. Cardia noticed a rosy-cheeked woman who had a kind look to her, peeking from the doorway which connected the parlor with the rest of his house. His assistant or wife, she thought. Perhaps both. The doctor left the room, pushing roughly past the woman. Phineas soon returned with paper, a quill pen, and inkpot. Setting it all on the side table, he dipped the quill in ink and handed it to her. Hi, Hyperlips. Thank you so much for raiding. Yes, we're doing a reading stream, but thank you so much for the raid. I guess we shall wait till Chica's song is done. Yay! Guano, you. Thank you so much for following. Yay! Ooh, Hyperlips. You always raid me. Thank you so much. I want to try to raid you back too. Yeah, how was your stream? Chica. Thank you for the pet. Pets are always good. It was nice. That's nice. Pet time. Breaks are all pet times. All breaks are for pets. Good. Told you it was reading day. It is reading day. We're reading. Must watch reading stream. Okay. Yay. Yes, we are. I guess it's still the beginning. It's actually a really short book. You can see the font is really huge too. So it's kind of short. Thank you for the pet. 253 times. Crazy. I love all those pets. Soon I will get 1,000 pets. Thank you for the pet. Back to the story. Hyperlips, thank you so much for cheering. Woo! Thank you, yay! Thank you so much for the cheer. Thank you for the raid and then the cheer. Wow. For disturbing? No, you didn't disturb. I was so happy to see that you came to join us and also raided us. So thank you. So Now we will return to the reading book ASMR. She reads books a lot. This seems so fun. Yay, Eve Fuzzy! I'm so glad that you think this is fun. Has anyone other than Goosey Pie, like, and Jess, heard of this book before? Or, you know, read this book before? I'm glad that you think it's fun. Do you like books? I usually don't read fiction books. I really like poetry though, and fairy tales. So this was a good choice. Ever heard of it before? It has really good ratings on goodreads.com. Alright guys, we're gonna return. I don't suppose you can read. I just need you to make your mark and everything is legal and whatnot. Then impatiently, don't dawdle about, woman. Sign the paper. She picked up the pen, not bothering to inform him if she could in fact read. As soon as she had finished, he snatched up the paper and bade her to follow him. When he went through the doorway, the doctor gave the red-cheeked woman a push backwards and muttered something under his breath. Cartier felt a wave of hopeless sadness from the woman wash over her. Phineas led Cartier to a room which was hardly cleaner than the waiting room had been. An oil lamp hung above a table, casting a light which revealed every bit of dirt and grime. This was the table where operations were performed, its surface speckled and stained. You might have guessed, as Cartier, that these markings were blood, which had soaked into the wood. Leather straps for restraining the person's arms and legs were bolted to the worn table. That sounds torturous. Cartier shivered, wondering if she were making a horrible mistake. The removal of a heart must be terribly painful, she said. Is there something you give me to ease it? Oh, 'twill be quite awful, I assure you, Phineas said, looking not at all displeased by this thought. A feeling of despair overtook Cartier. She could sense the darkness in this man, and yet he was her only hope. She had come too far to turn back. For the knife's magic to work, ye must be fully conscious while I remove the heart, Phineas said, so I cannot offer potions or even a strong drink. The pain replenishes the magic of the blade, but once the damned organ is plucked from your body, it will trouble ye no longer. Seeing the unnecessary uncertainty in her eyes, he hastened to add, less of my patients die from surgery than from childbirth. Somehow, she did not find this reassuring. Up on the table with ye, said the doctor. I must change and wash up, while Margaret gets the knife, snips and grips ready. Have your top off when I come back. A surgery is no place for modesty. With that, he turned about and exited the room, bellowing, Damnation, Margaret! Where the blades are ye? Come get my things ready. Uh-oh. Oh no. Hi guys. Sorry, I disconnected. Thank you so much for all the welcome backs. Thank you. And actually, I did do reading streams before. I read a little bit of The Secret Garden. I read a lot of The Little Prince. I read a book called Positively Resilient, which is a a non-fiction self-help book about being positive. So I have read different books on stream before. But yay, I'm back. Thank you for waiting. Thank you so much so far, everybody who has been listening along so far. It helped Yoshi feel much at peace. Oh, that's good. Need more story time, Doro? Okay. Okay. Story time over? No, I just disconnected. So I don't know where we left off because I don't know where you guys disconnected from. But I will start from the top of the page. With that, he turned about and exited the room, bellowing, "Damnation, Margaret! Where the blazes are ye? Come get my things ready. I've got cutting to do." Margaret entered through a different door, cheeks redder than ever, lugging a large steaming pot of water. Setting it on a stand beside the operating table, she scuttled over to Cardia. Did you guys hear that part already? What was the last word that you guys heard, or sentence? It was a new sentence for you? I don't know where I disconnected at. I think I should be good. Okay. I will continue then. Pulling a small bottle from her skirt, Margaret handed it to her, whispering, "Here, drink this quick, my poor dear. The doctor, he loves causing pain, but this will help a bit." Cardia hesitated but a moment, for her heart sensed the kindness and the goodness in the woman. Why Margaret would stay with such a dreadful man as the doctor, she did not know, but she felt the heavy grey weight of despair underneath the woman's kindly demeanor. It was the hopelessness of a prisoner who has learned to accept her shackles. "Hurry," the woman insisted, shaking the bottle at her. "He'll be back any moment. Drink up. Ye do not want him cutting into you without potion." Cardia uncorked the bottle and swallowed. The potion was pungent, burning as it slid down her throat. A tingling spread throughout her body, and she soon felt light as a feather. "Aye," Margaret said, studying her. "Ye be feeling it. A right strong potion it is, mixed from roots and herbs and then fermented many months in a dark cellar. It'll help ye. Now be a good love and get your top off right quick. Not a word to the doc, or there'll be hell to pay for the both of us." With that, she began taking metal implants one by one out of a wide wooden drawer, laying them out on a clean linen cloth on the side table. Cardia did not recognize them, but they looked unpleasant, with their strange shapes and sharp edges. Next, Margaret brought out a magical knife, laying it reverently alongside the other surgical instruments. Its black blade gleamed, dancing with inner lightning. The silver handle with its strange inscriptions shone with an unearthly brightness, as if anticipating the work that it must do. You know, this kind of reminds me of a sickle. Like, that's what I'm imagining this tool looks like. Laid back on this theory, Margaret placed a pillow behind Cardia's head and guided her down onto it. Cardia looked up and saw rough wooden rafters dripped with dangling cobwebs as Margaret tightened the leather straps around her wrists and ankles. The table beneath her was hard and unforgiving. She felt exposed and cold, As you know, dear reader, a doctor's office is no place in which to maintain one's dignity. Indeed, that is the very first thing removed. The door banged open, and Dr. Phineas entered, muttering and swearing under his breath which smelled distinctly of strong drink. "Right," he said, belching. "Let's go on with it, shall we? Margaret, bring me the pain stick." Margaret handed him a short length of peeled sapling, pale as a bone. "Open up," he said to Cardia, then placed the stick between her teeth. "Now, bear down on this whenever the pain gets too bad. It'll keep ye from biting your tongue in half and making a god-awful racket. Make too much noise and I'll stop the surgery and stitch you back up. Then you'll have to have a cursed heart, and I'll keep the money, so think twice before you start caterwauling." To Cardia's embarrassment, the doctor stood over her and stared at her chest, where her breast lay bare. His unshaven double chin wobbled and quivered as he pursed his lips. He poked and prodded, jamming his fingers against the bones which lay behind her pale flesh, then drew some marks on her skin with a bit of charcoal. Turning to the table, Phineas took the obsidian knife and held it up, admiring it. He ran a finger along the blade's edge, then jerked it back, cursing as it drew blood. "The knife is hungry and must be fed. I shall begin. I will spare you the gruesome details. Suffice it to say, there was blood and even more pain, even more blood. Pain and much more pain." The magical knife sank into tender flesh without mercy. Metal implements cracked and pried apart bones. Despite the merciful effects of Margaret's secret potion, the pain was dreadful, and Cardia groaned, crushing to splinters the piece of wood clenched between her teeth. Sparks flashed behind her closed eyelids, and her head spun with the whirlpool of deep red, which was pulling her down into deeper darkness. Perhaps the worst moment was when she felt the hands of Dr. Phineas reaching inside of her. With fumbling fingers, he seized her heart and pulled it free from her body. Cardia's body convulsed. She welcomed the darkness which gathered her into its smothering embrace. Mukbang for the knife. Since this is lovely. Yeah. Having a shot or blood drawn must be nothing compared to the scariest procedure. I know, right? Like, this just seems very, very, very like. But then again, having a painful heart is painful. So, Alright guys, let's take a 5-minute intermission break. And I think we'll read half of it and we can read the other half tomorrow. Or actually, is there actually a half? No, JK, it's really, really short. And I think I can finish this one story, and then we can start the second one tomorrow or something. This is multiple short stories together, it looks like. Oh, it looks like it's 2 short stories together. Okay, I think we can finish this whole entire story. Time for pet pets. 5-minute intermission. That robot game will take longer than 5 minutes. Okay, we're gonna take the 5-minute intermission. Let me know what you guys think of the story so far. I think it's quite nice. It's quite sad too, but deserves all the pets and hugs. Thank you. Proves, yes, I feel like I relate to this story a lot. Alright, so we're gonna go for BRBs. Hi everybody, yes, we're back. Our intermission, I actually really like applesauce. So, I mean, this one isn't applesauce, it's wild raspberry. Like, so I can eat fruit if it's not raw. So, this is processed fruit. We're gonna have another 5-minute intermission so we can take some snacks, get some snacks. It's like dinner time, right? For our East Coasters. My hair got longer. My hair has always been super long. Well, not always, but it has been growing out. And I'm happy because I wanted my hair to be long. So it's like, yeah, it's growing. Rapunzel. Actually, one of my Instagram pictures, people thought I was like Rapunzel, like cosplaying Rapunzel or something. Applesauce? Is that like apple drink? Oh no, it's like pureed apple. Hey Fuzzy, where are you from? More reading. It's always good to take breaks and have snacks. Yes. Hey Fuzzy, where are you from? Glowing like the pretty sun. Thank you. Doctor. I don't think you want to trust me with being a doctor. Dora is the most magical and beautiful princess. Thank you, Goosey Pie. And thank you, Domopod. E Fuzzy, you're from the UK? Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that the UK didn't have applesauce. So applesauce is like apple, but in puree form. So it's like blended, mashed form of apple. And that's what applesauce is. And I think it's also like processed and smushy. I feel like how I'm describing it doesn't sound good. This reminds me of the time I used to work at a bubble tea place, and so I served people bubble tea. I was also very slow at that. And I also kept forgetting how to make the bubble tea. But anyway, I worked at a bubble tea place and people kept asking me what tapioca was or what boba was. Like the boba pearls. Everyone just kept, like, not everyone, but people would come in and asking like, what is this? And then I was like, every time I tried to describe it, like one time the manager heard and was just like, the way you describe it doesn't sound appealing. Because when people ask me what boba was, I was like, oh, it's what is it? It's like gelatinous rice balls that's black and like chewy and sticky. That's how I described it because that's what it is. And yeah, they're like, the way you describe it doesn't sound appealing to our customers who probably would want to try it. Yeah, so that's how I'm describing you how applesauce is too. Applesauce is mushed apples that's like I don't like plain things, so sometimes I gag if I eat just plain applesauce. So applesauce has to like be flavored like with, I don't know, cinnamon or something. It's the same with bread. I can't eat plain bread. Do Yoshi and Hyperlip get credit for helping Dora feel happy as well? Yes. You guys get credit for hyping Doro. Good job. Good job, Yoshi. You get the most credit there ever is in the credit of credits. Dory went from chef to beautiful model. Can we turn that 5 minutes and 10 minutes interruption to say how pretty Dora is every day? I'm happy that you guys like me so much. I just realized, eFuzzy, good job for sticking past the 10-minute mark so you can chat in my chat. I think actually you're the first one who has followed in my past few streams that waited till the 10-minute passed so they can chat. We are loyal pies, yes. Good job, Hyperlips. My adorable pies. If you guys haven't already, you can join my Discord. We also do talk a lot and we do a lot of different activities in Discord. We're shrimp pies. So yes, thank you guys for joining in on Storycam. I'm gonna finish this applesauce first. It's not even apple, it's raspberry. So yeah, it's basically like super mashed raspberries that's processed. And this is how I can eat the fruit. Yay, so many pets. You'll make sure to try it one day. Oh, I really didn't know that the UK didn't have applesauce. That's really interesting. Falcon pie! Wow, falcon pie! Hearts, 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 hearts. Thank you so much for the don't know. Thank you so much for the tip. Wow, falcon pie! Wow. Our princely Prince Sama. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the story. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You never heard of mashing fruits ever except in milkshakes? Yeah, it's just a puree of apples or raspberries. Falco pie. Falco pie. Do you like applesauce? I think a lot of people like apple. What was it? Apple pie. You do? You like apple juice? I actually don't like apple juice. I just feel like apple juice just tastes so artificial. But yeah, thank you so much, Falco Pie. Yay! Tell me what you think of the story so far. What do you think of the story so far? I think we're actually halfway through it. And then, so where's the end of it? Here's the end of the story, and here's how much we have left. So I think it is halfway. You're offended. You only eat homemade applesauce? Wow, so you make your own? That's so impressive. It's like when people make their own mashed potatoes and their own gravy, their own cranberry sauce. We have Domo Bear, Bunny Bear, we have Bunny Bear, Falcon, Dinosaur Yoshi, Vincent, and a really strong Hyperlift Carrie. Dora has a good community. I do have an amazing community that I love very much. Your mom makes it for the holidays? Wow, what a talented mother. What a good mother for born you too. And so I approve of your mother. Okay, let's get some waters and then let's continue on with the story. Oh, whoa, nice. You make your own mashed potatoes? Oh, that's good. That's good. Is it bad if someone didn't have applesauce? I don't think it's bad. I think there are a lot of foods that some people haven't had before, so I don't think it's that new. Alright, we're going to continue. I hope you guys had a good break. Intermission time. It's probably because we're talking about applesauce so much. Alright, back to the story. Cardia's mind was clouded, mired in a midnight swamp of exhausted confusion. She tried to move, but her body seemed as heavy as a mountain. When she struggled to open her eyes, the lids felt weighted by stones. Her mind struggled for clarity and then gave up. After a time, the darkness receded. Awareness returned, and with it, a pain like none she had ever known blazed in the hollowness of her chest, like an angry sun. She opened her eyes and let out a long howl of agony. Margaret was at her side, stroking her forehead and then holding a cup of cool water to her fevered lips. "Hush, dearie," she said. There, you'll be all right." But Cardia heard her own voice as if from a distance, crying out in pain, and she doubted if things would ever be all right. Phineas stepped back into the room, ale mug in hand and a sour look on his face. "Ay, it hurt, don't it? There's only pain of the body, though, and that will heal. Pain of the heart ye will ne'er be feeling again. Now stop this damn noise, ye be giving me an ache in the head. Drink this medicine. A cartman will be coming soon to take ye home." He gulped from his drink, belched, and then spooned the brown, foul-smelling liquid in her mouth. "Here be a bottle to take with ye. A spoonful thrice daily, till this all is gone. I've laced up the incision with a thin bit of cord. You'll need to undo it and fill the hole with wool of some such of your choosing. I've wrapped the heart up in cloths. It's yours to do with as you wish." Dr. Phineas left the room, and Margaret pulled back the sheet and helped her sit up and dress. Cardia looked down and could see a cloth bandage covering the incision in her chest. There were blooms of bright red soaking through the white weave of fabric. She dared not to think of the wound and emptiness which lay beneath it. Margaret slipped something into her hand and a wrapped packet of powder. "For the pain," she whispered, "makes a spoonful with a cup of tea or water when it gets too bad." Cardia squeezed her hand in thanks. Some time later, the man with the cart came to fetch Cardia. Phineas gave him a coin and instructed him to take her where she bid. The cartman, a burly fellow smelling of pipe tobacco and sweat, lifted Cardia and carried her to his cart, laying her on a pile of blankets. Having obtained directions to her house, he chirruped to his horse, and they set off. Though it was not a lengthy journey, to Cardia it seemed like endless miles, and each bump and jolt sent fiery anguish through her body. When they arrived at her cottage, she found to her surprise that she was still alive, despite the pain. The carter carried her into her home and laid her on the bed. Being a kindly soul, he filled a jug of water and set it near her, along with a cup, and arranged the blankets over her. She thanked him in a faint whisper. He nodded, touched his cap, and departed. A week, and then 2 passed. She was alone in the gloomy cottage, with nothing but the pain in her body for company. No one from the village came to see her, not even the raven stopped by, since it had gotten what it wanted from her already. Cardia was like an injured wild animal all alone in a cave, nursing its wound. Each day, Cardia struggled to the cupboard, searching for remnants of stale bread in whatever stores she could find. With much pain, she hobbled to the water barrel to refill her jug, and although she took the doctor's foul medicine in the powder potion which Margaret had given her, it did little to ease her pain. All the while, the bundle of rags containing her excised heart sat alone on a shelf. At times it seemed there were invisible strings in her chest tugging her towards it. When she was able to, she must dispose of her heart, so it could no longer have power over her. As the days passed, her pain receded, and she felt her body healing. Cardia cautiously removed the bandage, running her finger along the welted edges of the incision in the cord which laced them together in a crisscross pattern. With trepidation, she undid the lacing, pulling the cord through each hole in her skin. The 2 edges of the wound had not healed back together. Gathering her courage, she parted the flesh and propped the hollow in her chest. She knew that she should feel fear or revulsion. Instead, there was only a mild curiosity in her mind. After having spent so much of her life overwhelmed with feelings, what an odd thing it was to have dull emptiness at her core. Where once there had been so much, there was now nothing. She looked at her rag-wrapped heart on the shelf. It had caused her so much inner turmoil. Did she regret having it removed? No. Cardia felt neither elation nor sorrow, as the thought passed through her mind that never again would she be a slave to her heart. As soon as she was strong enough, she would rid herself of his presence once and for all. She knew just the place. Beyond the village, up in the hills, was a mighty waterfall. That was where she would bid a final farewell to her heart and cast it away. Korazakini, thank you so much for following. Hope you're enjoying story time. And so, one bright, cloudless day, she made a long climb up the winding path in the woods which led to the waterfall, carrying the rag-wrapped bundle containing her heart. The forest was alive with birdsong, and the breeze was fresh, scented with hints of wildflower blooms, but she did not notice. Holding the heart so near her chest stirred painful aches within. Her only desire was to be rid of it as quickly as possible. Thoughts of everything and nothing swirled in her mind. After what seemed a long time, she reached the summit and walked to the other overlook point from which she could see the dizzying plunge of the falls and the wide sweep of the valley below. Rooftops of the village were visible in the distance. A few birds soared high above her. The bundle in her hand seemed to pulse and twitch, though surely it was just her imagination. The air was damp with drifting mist from the rushing waters. She sucked in a quivering breath as she leaned against the low stone wall which bounded the overlook. Cardia raised the bundle to her lips and kissed it. "Farewell, my troublesome heart," she whispered, and raising it high above her head, hurled it out into space toward this descending torrent. As it fell, the wind unwrapped the rags. They fluttered like bird wings, as if her heart were struggling to fly rather than fall. That is a really good imagery. That's really good imagery. For a moment longer she saw it, and then her heart lost itself within the white mist of the plunging torrent. Cardia drew in a deep, shuddering breath. She was alone under the bright blue emptiness of the sky. Alone but for the trees, the damp breeze, and the hole in her chest. The separation was complete. She felt no lingering sensations from her abandoned heart. The inner emptiness rendered her as light as hollow bird bones. Cardia sat on the stone wall, savoring the stillness within, and then stood and followed the path, making the trek down to her cottage. Cardia welcomed the relief that an absent heart brings. She could go into the village and return home unburdened by the cares and the pain of the villagers. Gone too was the aching of longing to fall in love. She still performed acts of kindness out of habit, but sailed through her days on smooth seas, untroubled by the storms of emotion which had in the past beset her. Cardia busied herself with tending her gardens and foraging in the woods for fruit and berries, and by making healing potions to sell. Sometimes she glimpsed the raven flapping in the distance, but it never came near. The river of time flowed with weeks and months, the seasons bringing their changes. A year passed, and then more. For Cardia, each day was another, passing unremarkably. But then, a day arrived which was different. It was the tail end of summer, when the days were golden and lazy, and blackberries were dark and plump near to bursting. She had been wandering the woods, listening to birdsong, filling her basket with berries, and eyeing the apple trees to see if any of their fruit was ripe enough to pick. Almost without noticing it, Cardia heard faint music, of the sort not produced by birds. Clearer now, she could hear a stringed instrument, a lute perhaps, and a man's voice singing. She paused, listened, and then followed the sound to its source, winding her way closer through the trees. Cardia came upon the clearing, and pausing at its edge, keeping out of sight behind the rough trunk of a pine tree. A man sat upon a fallen log, cradling a lute, strumming while he sang. He had a face which was pleasant, if not handsome, jaw bordered by a curly beard. Long brown hair fell to his shoulders, swaying as he bent over the lute. Even from a distance, his eyes seemed to her to have kindness to them. The man was a stranger, one she had not seen before. A traveling troubadour, no doubt. Such men passed by from time to time. His clothing, while not fancy, was clean and in good repair, and his black boots gleamed with a recent polishing, she noticed. Cardia shifted positions, and a twig snapped beneath her foot. She held her breath as the man stopped playing and swinging, and gazed into the woods straight towards her. He stayed quiet and stared for a long time, but made no move to get up. At last, he began playing and singing again. I'll tell you a story. Well, I don't know how it goes, but I'll tell you a story told me by the moon, of young lovers meeting, their hearts in full bloom. I'll tell you a story of beautiful madness, a balm for the lonely, and cure for the life's sadness. When she was sure he could not see her, Cardia breathed easier and picked up her basket, slipping quietly into the shadowed woods. I'll stay hydrated. Hi, Solo Up. Hope you're feeling better. It's so sad to see Cardia parting from her troublesome heart, but it did seem like it would be for the best. I think the heart does give pain, but I think also I think she will regret it eventually. General Spacey, hello! I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you've been well. Hope you've been doing well. This book is called She Had a Very Inconvenient Heart, A Tale of Love and Magic by John Mark Green. A friend sent it to me because she loved it and she thought that I would also appreciate it, which is true. I do. I do really like it. I think it's a different John Green. For some reason, you felt like a kid when it came to listening to Doro's story time. I'm glad you liked it. Yes, different John Green. But the John Green who wrote Fault in Our Stars is also a great author. Lunchtime for Yoshi. Okay, enjoy your lunch. I guess you can watch the VOD if you want to hear the rest of the story. But yeah, The Fault in Our Stars, the author John Green, also is good author. So I hope you guys are liking the book so far. We're gonna continue. I think she found her love of her life, so now what do we do? What is she gonna do? Cardia was not the only one who noticed the musical stranger's arrival. The villagers were always glad for a novel diversion from the daily routines of life, and news of a singing storyteller in the woods spread. An ever-growing audience came to see the bard named Vatis. As night fell, the villagers gathered around him. The glow of a blazing fire shone on their faces. Sparks and music rose in the night toward distant stars. Friends passed wineskins to one another, and beer mugs drained and refilled. Vatis seemed able to play and sing any song they requested, and in between these requests he sang tales of love, heartbreak, and valor. Songs unfamiliar to the villagers, but lovely. Cardia watched all of this from the shadows, just beyond the reach of firelight. She was sure that darkness hid her presence, but from time to time the singer raised his head and seemed to gaze in her direction. Cardia was sure that if she had still possessed the heart, it would have at these moments beaten wildly. Out of gratitude, the people left gifts for Vatis, food, wine, and such coins as they could spare. He seemed happy with these offerings and showed no desire to move on. Night after night he sang his stories, and as soon as she was able, Cardia listened and watched. When the crowd was thick enough, she would sometimes move closer to see and hear him better. Vatis intrigued her and occupied her thoughts often, but in the emptiness of her chest she felt nothing. It was a strange and terrible predicament in which she found herself. This was a man that she might have fallen in love with, if only she had a heart with which to avail herself of such passions. He's a bard! Bards are good at charming. At least that's what they say in the lore. One night, after the last stragglers left their circle of firelight and headed for home, Cardia remained hidden in the darkness. The fire was dying, flickering, as Vatis cleaned his instrument, wiping its body and strings with a cloth. "Do you want to come closer, or should I go on pretending I don't see you there?" he said, without looking up. Cardia's thoughts raced like a forest deer startled by a sudden noise. Holding her breath, she stood rooted in place, as if her body were just another tree. After a time, when he made no move to rise, she turned to slip away. But Cardia had taken no more than a few steps when suddenly he was behind her. Oh! His hand seized her wrist, not roughly, but firmly enough that she could not pull away. She felt no fear, for she could not, but her only thought was of escape. Stay. There was an undertone of tenderness in his voice that quieted the racing thoughts in her mind. He led her back into the glow of the firelight, and then let go of her hand and said, "Let me see this woman who listens so intently to my songs, yet keeps her face hidden in the shadows. I may not be young anymore, but my eyes are sharp as ever, especially at night. The eyes of a cat, my mother used to say of me." He smiled as he said this, and her thoughts of running away calmed. "No doubt you know that my name is Vatis, but I have not the pleasure of knowing yours." "'Tis Cardia, sir," she found her voice. "A pleasure to be introduced at last," he said, releasing her hand and executing a quick bow. If Cardia had been able to feel, she would surely have blushed. "You were in the thick of the crowd earlier, but then you hid yourself in the bushes, as seems to be your habit. Am I that frightening?" He looked at her with quiet amusement. "No," Cardia said. "It's just that I—" She paused, lost for words. "In truth, I don't know why I hid." The troubadour stepped back several paces and looked her up and down, but not in the way the coarse men of tavern would have. "I'm curious," he says, fingers tugging at his beard. "You were bolder one day and showed yourself in the crowd, and I noticed a strange thing. When I sang the saddest of my songs, you did not shed a tear. You do not seem like a hard-hearted woman. Do my songs not move you?" She thought of trying to explain, but instead began undoing the ties of her blouse. Vatis looked startled and protested. "My good woman, I have not called you to me so that I can lay with you." "I know, sir, but there is something I must show you." Her fingers worked, parting the garment, exposing her heart scar and the crisscrossing of laces which held it together. He heard his sharp intake of breath and found her voice again. "Your songs are beautiful to the ear, but since I have no heart, I cannot feel them. My heart was troublesome, you see. It caused me much grief, and I had to part ways with it." Ah, there was tenderness in his voice, and a look of pain clouded his eyes. "That is most unfortunate. My heart also has caused me much pain, and many times its ravages have brought me to despair. I can never quite bring myself to abandon it, though. The songs I sing are the means by which I endure its tortures." "Then you understand," she said. "Thankfully, I do," he said, reaching out and brushing back strands of hair from her face. Although she felt no emotion, the warmth in his voice and the soft touch of his fingers seemed good to Cardia. Vatis in Latin means bard. Ah, yeah, I wonder what Cardia means. Yeah, maybe Cardia also means something in Latin. That's really cool. I really like how there's so many translations that you can find in Latin. I wanted to take Latin in high school, but I was stuck between Latin and Japanese, but I chose Japanese. Not a day went by without them talking. Cardia would choose times when the villagers were doing their daily business, and she could be alone with Vatis. As they walked through the forest, she would point out plants and herbs useful for healing remedies. He would ask questions, bending down to look at the plants, examining them and smelling their fragrant scents. He discovered that she had named certain trees as if they were people. She said that each tree had its own character, and some of them told her their secret names. He laughed in delight at this, his teeth flashing in a wide smile, and his laughter sounded to her as beautiful as a song. His kind eyes and careful attention unlatched and swung wide a door which she had kept guarded for so long. Many secrets spilled forth in the safety of his presence, for she sensed that there was a sacred trust between them which she would not betray. Sometimes as she spoke, he would take her hands into his own, holding them while he listened. This relaxed her body and mind, and she marveled at the perfect fit of their hands. Though he did not say so, Vatis felt the wounded parts of himself healing in her presence. In all his travels, he had never found a woman who so entranced him. The ache of loneliness which had so long plagued him was losing its grip on his heart. He would sing songs for her which she never heard him sing for the crowds at night, and tell tales of his many travels in his younger days. The strange, wonderful, and comical things he had observed captivated Cardia. Vatis had an endless supply of stories, it seemed, but what she loved most was the peaceful sound of his voice. She would sit behind him on a fallen log, leaned against the warm strength of his body, breathing in his scent. At these times, she supposed if she had still had a heart, she would feel pure happiness. But though her body and mind were at peace with the troubadour, there was only hollowness at her center, reminding her of what was missing. If she had but endured the pain her heart had brought, instead of so foolishly parting ways with it, what wonderful things she might now feel. Cardia had never known how it felt to be in love, and now she never would. Still, she did not want to lose these precious times they shared. One day, as they were eating berries which grew on the vines alongside a rushing stream, he turned to face her, placing a hand on each shoulder. Gazing into her eyes, he said, "For years I have sung of love without ever finding a true love for myself. But now, dear woman, without a doubt, I find myself madly in love with you." Cardia looked down at her feet, speechless for a time as thoughts flooded her mind. What was the point of continuing this charade, she wondered. One day soon he would surely grow tired of a woman who had no heart. She had thought perhaps they might live together as friends, but it would be wrong to expect him to settle for a heartless woman. It was better that such a foolish dream should end here, rather than prolonging it until the inevitable disappointment. She was only wasting his time and hers. Vatis raised her chin with his hands until her eyes faced his. "You give me no reply," he said quietly. "Does what I have said displease you? I believe that you enjoy my company, but perhaps I am mistaken." "Oh, sir," she said, "it both pleases and distresses my mind, for I have no heart to offer you. Each day I look forward to the times we are together, but there is an emptiness within, and try as I may, I cannot feel anything towards you. Oh, if only I still had a heart." "You may have no heart, but I do," he said, "and mine is thoroughly captivated by you. I can no more deny its feelings than a river can refuse to run. I do not know what the future holds for us. All I know is that each day I crave your presence. I am not fully myself when we are apart. To me, the sound of your voice is more beautiful than birdsong. Your eyes are more glorious than 1,000 starry nights, and your breath sweeter than the blossom-perfumed winds of spring. I have traveled far and wide in many wanderings, and there is no other woman who compares to you." Never had such loving words been said to Cardia, and for a time she could not find the words to speak. When she was able, she whispered, "Thank you." She was silent for a while, thoughts whirling in her mind. Then hopelessly she asked, "What are we to do?" "Simply let me love you," he said. "Continue to grace me with your presence each day." "I will," she replied. Goosey pie! You have to go now, but it was so nice hearing my lovely and calming voice and reading this wonderful story with you, Dora. I wish you all the best and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for the cheer, Goosey Pie. I hope you have a good... You're probably going to eat dinner, so I hope you have a good dinner or whatever you're off to. Thank you so much for reading along with me, and I hope that you get to finish the book. Maybe you can follow along with the VOD or something. But I'm so happy that you were reading with me. But secretly, Vatis was troubled. How could he love a woman unable to love him in return and not be wounded often? Cardia continued to meet Vatis at his camp, but her inability to feel weighed heavy in her thoughts. She knew that such a one-sided arrangement could never last. One day, when she arrived, Vatis rose quickly to his feet as if he had been anxiously awaiting her. There was a quiet energy to his stance and a determined look in his eyes. "I want to see it," he said. "What do you speak of?" "The place where you parted ways with your vexing heart. Will you take me there?" She was silent for a long moment, considering his request, and then said yes. You know, I wonder if cardia means something. So I'm gonna search it. Cardia means the opening of the stomach. Okay, I see. Maybe that's where like cardiovascular comes from. Fishy Poo, thank you so much for following. Yeah. TY, thank you for following. And now we have learned medical terms. Cardia means opening of the stomach, which I don't think it really fits her name because they opened her heart. I mean her chest, not her stomach. But I guess it's still clever. Sorry, looking at Party Pass. No, I just googled cardia. They climbed the upward path until they stood alongside the point at which the river hurled itself over the edge of the cliff. The ground thrummed with a deep vibration, and they had to raise their voices to be heard over the noise of rushing torrent. "So, this is where you cast away your heart?" "It is." Memories of hurling the rag-wrapped heart out of the misty void stirred in Cardia's mind. If only she had known she was throwing away her future. She pressed her body against Vatis, grasping his hand tighter. As they leaned against the rough stones of the low wall which ringed the lookout, the wind brought dampness and the smell of the river to them. The panorama beyond was dizzying. The plunge of the waterfall disappeared below into the plumes of white mist churned up by the violent force of the descending torrent. Just beyond this was the blue of settled waters, a small lake fed by the waterfall. Then the river appeared again, winding on past the lake, disappearing into the dense forest. "Tell me," Vatis said, his voice thick with emotion, "if you had a heart, could you love me?" I think I would love you with the deepest of loves, if only I was able," she said. "But since I no longer have a heart, I cannot say for certain." "Then we must find out," he said, "for I am hopelessly in love with you." His eyes gazed into hers so long and deeply that at last she averted her gaze and looked down. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice emptied of hope. "It is too late for me now. I am empty. You should find a woman who can feel, one who can love you in return. You have lost your heart, and if I am to have a chance of being loved by you, then I must find it for you. That is the only chance of happiness for us both, I fear." Cardia drew a sharp breath, staring wide-eyed at him. "You would do this for me?" "Indeed, this and much more, much more." "No, 'tis a fool's errand, sir. Whatever you have in mind, it is not possible." She clutched his hands so tightly that her knuckles whitened. "Love has a way of making the strangest things possible," said Vatis. "As a singer of love ballads, I have become well acquainted with this truth." He reached inside his tunic and lifted a leather cord around his neck up over his head. A small pewter cylinder etched with intricate patterns hung from it. "I have worn this for many a year, waiting for my luck to change. Within this amulet is a tiny scroll containing the world's most beautiful song, one which I have not yet sung. Keep this safe for me until I return from my quest." Her mind told her she ought to cry, but her eyes remained dry. The ghost of an ache scraped at the walls of the cavity in her chest. "No," she begged. "Please, you mustn't go. What if you do not return? I shall not be able to bear it." "If I am to be lost, Let it be in service to you, dear woman, he said, for I care for no other, and I do not think I could bear the burden of living in this world without your love. Vatis reached forward and unlaced the ties at the top of her blouse, and parted it, exposing the heart scar and the crisscross lacing which held it shut. He gently kissed the scar and asked, "May I undo this?" She nodded, keeping her eyes fixed on his face. With nimble musician fingers, he undid the back laces and parted the scarred edges of skin, slipping the amulet and cord inside. Lacing it carefully back up, he said, "Your heart may be missing, but at least for now you'll have something dear to me inside that empty space. I take comfort in that thought." "Please," she said, "do not go, I beg of you." Pointing at the river, he said, "I am caught in the grip of love's current, and I must obey its demands." Vatis raised Cardia's hand to his lips and kissed it for a long moment. Then he embraced her with such force she thought he might snap her in two. He removed his boots and then climbed up on a low wall which served as a barrier at the edge of the cliff. Standing atop it, silhouetted against the blue sky, he turned and looked back at her. "If I do not return, then know that I have loved no one so deeply as I now love you. Should death claim me, the beauty of your face will be the last vision I take with me." Bending down, he kissed her fiercely on the lips, then turned and leaped forward into the yawning emptiness, falling towards the furious churning cauldron below. Oh, sad. Cardia's breath caught in her throat as she staggered forward, catching herself against the low stone wall. Her eyes fixed on his small dark figure as it vanished from sight, lost in the white mist of the waterfall. In her mind, she heard her voice screaming and watched her palms become bloodied as she beat them against the rough stone of the wall, for surely that is what she would have done had she been able to feel. But she did not scream. There was only emptiness inside her. In that moment, she wished for nothing more than to have a heart that could feel itself ripped apart. Cardia stared out beyond the churning of fury of the waterfall, to the blue of the wide lagoon which fed into the departing river. She waited to see her troubadour's body surface and float into view, for she did not believe that he could have survived the deadly plunge into the heart of the waterfall. But she waited in vain. While Cardia stood still, her thoughts raced. She must find Vatis. Perhaps an undercurrent had caught him, and his body would wash up on the shore of the river. Could she climb down? Leaving the overlook, she walked away from the waterfall until she came to a spot where the hillside ran at a steep incline down towards the lagoon and river. Scrub bushes and trees dotted the treacherous slope. By catching a hold of them, she could slow her descent just enough to avoid falling to her death. Cardia lifted the hem of her skirt, tucking it up in the sash and encircling her waist. Thus prepared, she began the climb down. Wetted by the drifting spray of the waterfall, the ground was slick and muddy, made more dangerous by slimy patches of green moss. She grasped onto bushes and tree branches, painstakingly lowering herself down, heels digging out chunks of dark wet soil and clumps of grass. Cardia's palms were soon gouged and crimson slick with blood. Her legs became scratched and battered as she lost footing on the muddy soil, slipping perilously and colliding with rock outcroppings. Already she was a mess and had only descended part way. No matter, urgency drove her with unwise haste. She made her way down, careening and clawing. All the while she felt the amulet jousting inside her hollow chest. Dizzy, dirty, and bleeding, Cardia reached the bottom. She was a sight to behold, dress soaked with the spray from waterfall, stained with blood, soil, and streaks of green. arms and legs lacerated and bruised. Her hair clung to her, filthy and tangled. Exhausted, she collapsed and lay there for a while, recovering her strength. The ground thrummed, vibrating with the raw energy of falling water. A fine mist settled over her, sending muddy little rivulets running down her skin. Cardia gasped air in heavy gulps. Her lung ached. After a short rest, she forced herself to her feet, groaning as her battered body protested. Cardia made her way to the shore of the lagoon and followed its curving shore towards where it flowed back into the river, all the while searching for any sign of Vatis. Thank you so much for following, Mundane Raptor 5. I had to change the music in case it got DMCA'd. Reaching the river's bank, she made her way downstream, away from the falls. It was not long until her eyes found what she did not want to see. A body had drifted to the river's shore, caught between protruding stones. Vatis lay face down and bobbing, the current unable to dislodge him. Summoning her strength, she waded into the icy waters. Grasping his cold, stiff hands, she tugged the body free and with great effort dragged it out of the water onto the shore. Looking around, she found a smooth, rounded stone sunken in the ground. The exposed top of it was just large enough to rest his head on, while keeping it clear of the muddy soil. With the last of her strength, she dragged his body there and turned him over. This had once been a living, breathing man, but the lifeless form of Vatis was as unwieldy as a heavy sack of potatoes. The strange feel of it unnerved her. Cardia was thankful that his eyes were shut and his look peaceful. She brushed back the sodden strands of hair from his face. She closed her eyes and ran her fingers over the contours of his cheek, remembering. Once they had been ruddy with the color of life. She pictured his eyes, the way they had reached into the very center of her being. Cardia was overcome with exhaustion, the gnawing emptiness within her which seemed to have grown even emptier now. She laid her head on his damp chest, as if listening for a heartbeat. Though she willed with all her might to hear even the tiniest movement within, the only sounds were the murmur of the river and her own ragged breathing. After a time, she remembered the amulet. With shaking hands, she undid the laces of her heart scar and withdrew it. Her fingers trembled as she unscrewed the cylinder's cap. This is so sad. Thank you for following, Corey Alkini. If mods are listening, can you guys say thank you for following to everyone who follows, because I feel bad that I don't say it in time. If you guys could do that, that would be wonderful. Thank you. At least I still have his song. But alas, when she unrolled the paper, it was blank, unmarked by any words. Her mind fluttered with thoughts of despair and confusion. Why had he lied to her about the scroll song? This betrayal was yet another death, that of the trust she had placed in him. What other ways might he have deceived her? She threw the amulet and empty scroll as far away as she could, as if to rid herself of the evidence of his lie. A breeze caught the ribbon of paper, carrying it along until it last lodged in the branches of a nearby bush, swaying. Why? He had seemed so trustworthy and sincere. She needed answers, but now that Vatis was gone forever, there were none to be had. Perhaps he had made up the story about it being a magical song scroll to impress her. A single failing of an otherwise honorable man? Can you guys hear my tummy rumble? I'm hungry. My stomach just rumbled. But we must finish. He had loved her. She believed that. The proof was that he had leapt into the waterfall, hoping to make it possible for her to love him in return. He died in search of my heart. I must never forget that. She looked at his lips, which had once sung such beautiful melodies. They were blue with the chill of the icy river waters. She leaned forward and kissed them. As the cold from his lips transferred to hers, the hollow space inside her seemed to grow. Faint sensations brushed within like the touch of ghostly moth wings in a black night. She sensed the hint of feelings her absent heart had once known, echoes from the past. It was as if by being near Vatis, her empty chest was trying to feel again. When he was alive, she had wished to feel love. Now that his corpse rested on the ground before her, she wanted nothing more than to know sorrow and be torn apart. My stomach just growled again. You should get food. I'm gonna finish this. It's almost like we're almost done. It's only like a few pages. I must finish this. I hope you guys don't mind the crumbling sounds. See, this is when I wish Jared's chocolates had arrived and I could be eating a lot of chocolate right now. Chocolate makes you happy, alright? Yeah. This is true. I learned it in my drugs class. As if being near Vatis, her empty chest was trying to feel again. When he was alive, she had wished to feel love. Now that his corpse rested on the ground before her, she wanted nothing more than to know sorrow and to be torn apart inside by the loss of the man who meant everything to her. She had hated her heart, believing its feeling to be a curse. Now she would give anything to have that inconvenient organ back inside of her chest. Her vision blurred, and her face seemed wet. She was too far from the waterfall for the spray to be blowing on her. Was it beginning to rain? Cardia lifted her head, but the sky was a clear, cloudless blue. She felt the wetness again, and it dripped down onto his pallid face. Tears? But how could that be? Confused, she wiped at her eyes and cheeks with her fingers. They came away wet. She was indeed crying, something she had not done since the day Dr. Phineas removed her heart. As she gazed down at Vatis, her tears, which anointed his face, ran down his cheeks. Her tears, which anointed his face, ran down his cheeks, dripping onto the stone upon which his head rested. Wherever her tears touched stone's gray surface, it changed color, reddening like the blush of a ripening apple. In wonder, she reached out to touch the stone, and found that it was no longer hard, but had become pliable. She caught her breath. Strange magic was at work here. Puzzled, Cartier moved his head, shifting the cold, damp weight of his lifeless body so she could better see the odd stone. She brushed aside the dirt and pebbles from around it, uncovering more of its shape. Cartier grasped, scrambling with her fingers to grasp the edges and pull it from the soil. Running to the river's edge, she washed it in the chilly waters. Her mind reeled with the truth of what she was seeing. Cleansed from the layer of grime which had covered it, she saw not a stone but her missing heart. It was red and glistened, quivering in her hands. "Oh, my dear heart," she said, "what a fool I was to think I would be better off without you." She brought it to her lips, kissing it reverently. Being this close to her heart had stirred things within her, memories of how it was to feel. She dared not hope that this castaway heart would ever be a living part of her again, but still she decided that she must at least return it to its resting place. With trembling fingers, Cartier parted her chest wound and placed her heart back inside. It moved, a wild creature settling into its burrow. In the next instant, she knew how Vatus must have felt when he dove into the waterfall. The world dropped away from beneath her, and then she plunged into a warring, churning frenzy of emotion. Surrounded and filled by it, she could not breathe or see. It shook her bones and set her blood afire. Her chest felt crushed by unimaginable pain, yet sensing a magnificent fountain of joy longing to burst forth from within. She was the sun, rolling with flame, in the cold emptiness of the moon, a storm-tossed ocean hurling itself against granite cliffs, and gentle spring rain caressing delicate flower petals. She was sunrise and nightfall, the wine of first love and the bitter dregs of death's goodbye. The mist rainbow of wonder and the impenetrable blackness of despair. She held dreams too beautiful to behold, and truths too terrible to tell. Cartier's body fell into the riverbank as if dead. When she came to her senses, Cartier crawled back to the lifeless body of Vatus. She lay exhausted for a while, resting her head against his cold chest. She felt things knitting and connecting within herself. Her returned heart was making itself at home once again. The emptiness was gone. Now sorrow and heartache filled her to bursting. Having been so long without her heart, she welcomed the pain and surrendered to it. She raised her head and kissed his closed eyelids and cold lips. He smelled of river water. Nothing remained of his old scent, which she remembered so well. Floodgates opened within Cartier, and she wailed, the sound of her anguish sending startled birds into flight from nearby trees. Warm tears flowed down from her face into his. They ran in tiny rivulets, washing away the grime, seeming to bring a bit of color to the paleness of his dead skin. She wept and wept, emptying her sorrow upon him like rain. In our world, dear reader, sad and terrible things often happen, though I wish I could tell you otherwise. But strangely, wonderful things also occur, and this is the truth that makes life worth living. As Cartier wept, anointing him with her tears, invisible things shifted and realigned behind the veil of the world. You see, my friend, there is one thing stronger than death, and that is love. A sudden movement. Vatus coughed several times, clearing water from his lungs. His eyelids fluttered, then opened. Oh, he's alive. For a moment, Cartier froze in wonder. Vatus looked as dazed as she did, but then he spoke. His voice was coarse, but her name on his Pat, thanks. This is so sad. His voice was hoarse, but her name on his lips was the most beautiful sound she had ever heard. Cartier, You found my heart and saved me, she said, kissing him over and over. Nay, 'twas you who saved me, restoring my life, he said in wonder. They were both right, you see. What is love if not two people saving each other from loneliness and healing each other's wounds? Cardia and Vatus embraced with passionately, neither wanting to let go. Despite her joy, a troubling thought forced its way into Cardia's mind. Try as she might, she could not push it away. I must ask you something, she said, gazing into his eyes. Anything, he asked. When I found your body and thought you were lost to me forever, I opened the amulet you gave me, seeking comfort. You said its scroll contained the words of the world's most beautiful song. Yes, but there was nothing on it. The scroll was blank. Ah, he said, I see. And do you have the scroll? I threw it away in a fit of despair, over there. Vatus rose weakly and walked in the direction Cardia had pointed. He first found the amulet and leather cord, and then saw the tiny unfurled scroll caught in the branches of a bush, stirred by the breeze. He carefully freed it and returned, placing it in her hand. The reason that there were no words on the scroll is because the song had not yet been written. I know many songs, but the most beautiful of all is the one which I can only sing when our hearts join as one. Oh, said Cardia, relief and joy surging through her. Vatus knelt on one knee. Dear woman, I think I have loved you from the moment my eyes first saw you. Indeed, it seems that I loved you long before I met you. Now that I have reunited you with your lost heart, I shall ask you to tell me truly. Do you love me? Will you join your heart with mine forever? Oh, yes. The words burst forth from Cardia's lips, propelled by a great swell of emotion in her heart. I want nothing more in this world. His smile shining bright as a sunrise, Vatus said, Then I shall sing for you the world's most beautiful song. And he did. Cardia wept as he sang of his love for her. She placed the slender hand against his chest, and he pressed his rough hand gently against the laced-up entrance to her heart. Love flowed between them like waves of golden light. As he sang, words appeared on the scroll in her hands. She read them, wide-eyed. Indeed, it was the most beautiful song ever written. The scroll, though tiny, possessed the power for magic. Every time it seemed all of it had been unrolled, there was still more. There were many words not yet written by love's unseen hand, for the scroll contained their story, one which had only just begun. The collector had taken many of Cardia's unborn dreams from her, but true to his word, he had left a few in case she ever needed them, just enough, as it turns out, for her to live happily ever after. Alas, my fire has burned low, the nights grow late, and I am tired. I shall set down my quill, and we shall say goodbye to Cardia and Vatus for now. We are creatures of story. Even while we sleep, there are tales told. I go now to close my eyes and listen to what the night will whisper. There are new stories to dream, more adventures to live, and who can truly say when we are dreaming and when we are awake? Some may regard what I have told you as but a foolish tale, insisting that magical stories are only for children. I say, may our foolish stories remind us of the magic we once saw in the world as children, and may love make beautiful fools of us all. All done. Yay. What's the story called? It's called She Had a Very Inconvenient Heart, A Tale of Love and Magic by John Mark Green. Yay! I hope you guys liked this story. It was so sad. We powered through it. It was so good. I hope you guys liked it too. I'm glad that you indeed liked it better than I did. I loved it. It's so sad. I've tried very hard not to cry. Need a tissue, Doro? I'm okay. But it was really good. I loved it. You could fall asleep to my voice. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed story time with Doro. I feel like it was such a deep, meaningful story that I could connect to. Yeah, it was really good. I hope that you guys liked it too. Tell me, guys, what were your opinions? And we have finished that story. And so, let me tell you that the next story that we read, it is gonna be called If the Stars Should Ever Die. So, we shall finish this book, but we have now finished the main story. And it was my kokoro. Thank you for the story. It's 1 a.m. now, so you should go to sleep now. Bye bye. Good night, Eve Fuzzy. Thank you so much for listening along with us. And remember, guys, if you wanted to listen to the beginning of the story, then you can watch the VOD, and we have that. We have the story. We have read the whole entire short story. And there's more to this book, and I'm so excited to read the next short stories with you guys as well. Watashi no kokoro. My kokoro. My heart hurts. So, I hope you guys liked this story time. Dora deserves noms. Soft ASMR, yes. Soft ASMR. I deserve noms after finishing the book. Yes, my stomach has been growling for a while. And near the end, too. I must part now. We must part. Now let us look for someone to raid. Okay, we can raid Pet Throws. Thank you. Thank you for the tummy pet. Okay. Yes. Well, here's my raid message. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night or morning or day or afternoon or evening. Thank you guys so much for joining story time, and I will see you guys. You see already? Oh, thank you. I will see you guys. I don't know what the next stream, what we will do in the next stream. Maybe we will finish Machinarium. I do know that either tonight or tomorrow night we are going to finish. Oh, sorry, we're not gonna finish. We're going to watch Wonder Woman 84, and I don't know if it's tonight or tomorrow night. You guys can let me know what you guys want to do with that. If you guys haven't already, please join my Discord so you can watch with us. You were hoping WandaVision tonight? I don't know, but you want to watch? Oh yes, hi Sarah, how are you? Hello Sarah. Hi Sarah. We just finished reading the first short story of She Had a Very Inconvenient Heart. We just finished that, and it was really sad and really good, and I think really deep and meaningful. So it was really good. So like, yeah, like my heart is very touched right now. So join me next time for finishing the rest of the short stories. Or we will finish Machinarium. I haven't decided yet. We do have to save the little robot's girlfriend. So, can this be my new voice from now on? I'm just trying to do like a relaxing, like, story time voice. It was a relaxing ASMR story time voice. So that's what this voice was. I can't guarantee that I can control the volume of it forever and ever. But this is also kind of sad because this was such a sad book. But it was happy at the end, so it was alright. It was good. It was happy in the end. It was a happy ending. So, yeah. It's quite mystical. Sarah, I think maybe you would love this book too. I don't know, but I loved it, so. Thank you again, Jessie Pie, for sending me this book, and yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Here's our raid message, and we are going to raid my real raid message is the real one. I'm going to raid Feels Bad Kitty. I haven't seen her live in a while, so very interesting. Okay guys, take care. Justin got back in time to raid. Wonderful, Goosey Pie. Welcome back, just in time. Goosey Pie, I have to tell you, brace yourself for the rest of the story. It was so difficult to read because I kept almost crying. So brace yourself, Goosey Pie. All right. Yeah, my voice. It was so. Yes. So. Goosey Pie, brace yourself when you finish the story. Alrighty guys, take care. Oh yes, this dress is from Sarah. Sarah, are you still here? Ta-da! This dress is from Sarah. If she recognizes it. Okay, enjoy eating. Yes, I will be eating food. I don't know if she saw that, but I will just tell her. Bye guys.